Hello and welcome. You're watching live stream, the one show where we want to hear your voice. We look at the big story of the day and want to know what you are thinking, if the solutions being spoken about are the ones that are going to fix these issues. Today, Punjab Chief Minister Amarinder Singh ordered mandatory dope tests for all government employees. These include police personnel from the time of their recruitment through every stage of their service. The Chief Minister has directed the Chief Secretary to work out modalities and issue all official notifications in this regard. He's ordered drug screening to be mandatory in all cases of recruitment and promotions, as well as the annual medical examination that certain employees are required to undergo. This comes back of over 20, in fact the number is around 23 narcotics related deaths in the state in the last 1 month alone. Pressure has been building up. In a separate case when the Chief Minister was in court, it was with regard to an election case, the judges actually asked him that because you are here, we want to ask you what are you doing to tackle the drug situation. The Chief Minister of course said that he's personally involved in this. He's also said that there's going to be death for drug peddlers, and that's going to happen even for first-time offences. Remember, the current act says that it is there for repeat offences, but now the Chief Minister says enough is enough. So that's what we are looking at, that is this the way to crack down on Punjab's drug nightmare? Is this the way to go ahead? There were all those who said that why only government employees? What about politicians? Why not have drug tests on them too? Well, after all of that, we saw a tweet from the Chief Minister yesterday. Amarinder Singh, in fact, going on record to say that he has no problem with such a test and saying that nobody else should have any issues with it either. But clearly the controversy is not over. Politically, loads of reactions have been coming in from the Aam Aadmi Party to the Akali Dal to the BJP. Remember that in the last election in Punjab, drug usage in the state was such a big issue. In fact, at one time, it felt that the entire election was hinging on it. Joining me in the studio to discuss all of this, Dr. Kavaldeep Kaur. She's a researcher in narcotics, someone who knows the issue and is going to try and help us break this down. But first, let's go across to Sonal Mehrotra, who's joining us from ground, joining us from Chandigarh, where it's all happening, where all those reactions are coming in. Sonal, it's just been this week that the Chief Minister has, of course, announced all these changes in the state's drug policy. What are reactions? Drugs, big issue in the state. Do they believe that this is the only way to crack down on it?
Well, Natasha, a couple of things important to understand on this issue. Number one, the drug is the foremost subject being discussed in the state even now. It was the big issue for elections, and post that, one of the reasons why Captain Amarinder's government has been cornered has been over this issue. There was a video that had gone viral where Captain Amarinder Singh took oath on a holy book saying that after I come into power, within a year, I will wipe out all drug peddlers in the state, and that hasn't happened. The opposition is playing up this video online, cornering the government, and many are saying this is the reason why Captain Amarinder Singh and the CM had to take such a knee-jerk reaction. I say knee-jerk reaction because every expert I have spoken with today here in the capital of Punjab, everybody says that this entire dope test is a farce. They're very short of saying that it's quite pointless, and all of them also say that this is conceptually flawed. And these are the reasons why. A simple dope test which has been asked for by the Chief Minister and ordered now, talks of a simple pee in a cup or saliva, etc., which is then taken, and a substance, whether or not a substance is there in the sample, is tested. Now, very simply, doctors are saying it is very easy to trick it, and why it's flawed, I'll tell you why. If a person who smoked, say, cannabis at a party a few days ago, and he's not a regular user of drug, he could be taking a test and test positive. On the other hand, if there is a regular routine heroin user and he just abstains from using it because he knows there's a drug test coming, he will test negative. So does this dope test prove or come out concretely about the fact of whether or not you are a constant user? It cannot say so. Doctors also saying us, very quickly before I actually go to one of the doctors I've spoken with, one of the head doctors in PGI Chandigarh, he says there is no sense of dependency. He also says even cancer patients at times can test out positive, and some murmurs also going around in PGI at this point that if the CM is actually to take this dope test because of the medication he's in, he just might come in positive. So while there is a rat race going on of all politicians saying, well, I am ready to give the dope test, we are now telling you it's pointless. And that's exactly why everybody is going and talking about how they should be the first one to get it. take a look now at my conversation with Dr. D. Basu, who's one of the top psychiatrists and top de-addiction doctors here in the state. Dr. Basu, I just want to understand this entire dope test that everybody's talking about. How will it actually be conducted?
The dope test is a colloquial name for detection of any substances or any psychoactive substances or banned drugs in any body fluids or biological specimen. But by far the most commonly it is done on urine as a sample, although it can be done on blood, saliva, hair, nails, etc. So that urine sample is taken, and then the common test is called the immunoassay. And that immunoassay is a very rapid test of detection. It's a screening test. It's more like a pregnancy detection kind of a test. So
which can be done in a few minutes.
Yes, which can be done very rapidly in a few minutes, and it just detects some of the antibodies to the drugs or their metabolites being tested. And so it gives the results in usually less than a minute or so immediately.
But will this then, if I understand from you correctly, will just give out the presence of any substance in the body at that point? It does not necessarily mean that it can be used and will give a positive result for somebody, say, who has not consumed drugs for the past couple of days but is an addict.
Yes, it's a double-edged sword. So a person who has been taking drugs regularly, but 2 days prior to the drug testing, when he knows that this is a day when his urine will be tested, if he can tolerate the withdrawal, or if he abstains from the drug for 2 or 3 days, then his urine will test negative, even if he is dependent on the drugs otherwise. On the other hand, if a person who does not take any drugs regularly, but in a party he happens to consume 1 or 2 puffs of cannabis, let's say, or any kind of party drugs, and then he will test negative if the urine is tested the very next day. So this is only a screening test, and there are always these issues about false positives and false negatives, and it does not diagnose addiction, it does not diagnose dependence.
So do you in professional capacity, do you endorse capital punishment?
No.
You do not?
No, and that's an unqualified no.
Right, so that's of course the medical view on this. Our first caller of the evening is here. This is Major Gurdeep from Ludhiana. Thanks for your time. Major, go ahead.
I have to say about this issue, unless we sort out the policing, basically at least 10 to 15% police personnel cops are on drugs. And it is a political police nexus which is making huge profits. Can you imagine the farmers are sending their sons by selling land to Canada or other countries so that they can save them from drugs? Unless we clean the government system, nothing will be cleaned. This is just a small step, baby step he's taking about taking the drug test.
Okay.
We need to sort out the police. And
that's a good
corruption level in Punjab is 90%. You may find only 10 honest policemen in 100. That is the reality of Punjab. I live here.
Okay. Okay, thanks for your time. This is something that has been spoken in the past as well. The police focus on this, focus on our government departments, the politics, and which is why, of course, this was such a big issue in the elections. Now, first up, what is your reaction to what Punjab is trying to do, what the Chief Minister is trying to do? Is this the way to combat the menace?
The situation is in Punjab is undoubtedly a problem. And visibility to the problem has again, opened up vistas of understanding this complex and multidimensional issue of drugs. However, I understand that Punjab government is attempting too much too fast.
I see.
Particularly the mandatory drug testing. It's an issue which should be treated very, very carefully.
Explain that. Why?
Because it's going to be, there are a lot of issues, particularly regarding ethics, regarding privacy, regarding civil liberties. In case of, safety, there are certain safety sensitive positions like the police. So for them, that could be very as well covered under the the work health and safety requirement. So the
Chief Minister was trying to say that I have zero tolerance. Anyone?
Yes. So zero tolerance policies and mandatory drug testing could be justified for safety sensitive positions. But what justification would you give them? When you apply them broadly, that would not go down favorably, as is very apparent that it's not going down very favorably with the bureaucracy.
Okay.
Yes. So we have to consider
and
that.
And just quickly, Just, I know that you're saying that that's not necessarily the solution, but if I were just to ask you, should everyone be under the purview? I mean, only government employees, politicians also. I mean, the police are also covered, but you don't want to go there because you don't think it's going to work.
You know, in 2010, this is the Civil Service Commission in Philippines. That was way back in 2010 that they had come up with this mandatory drug testing.
I see.
For, you know, bureaucrats and even for school teachers, and even as far as recommending them for the school students.
Okay.
But what ultimately turned out is that Duterte, President Duterte of Philippines, is now, you know, there's a war on drugs going on. And human rights...
So it did not have the results that
human rights observers are up in arms against extrajudicial killings.
I see.
So we do not seem to learn lessons from history.
That's a good point. We sort of need to tread cautiously is what you're saying here. I'm coming to you again in a moment, Dr. Kaur, but let's go across and get other views. This is Sam Daniel from Chennai.
The drug menace in Punjab is a major challenge. The Chief Minister there has come out with the idea of making drug tests mandatory for all there, including politicians. With me, Dr. Raja and Deepthi, thank you so much for your time. How do you see this, Doctor?
I think it's the right move by the CM of Punjab. Should have been taken long back if you ask me. But okay, better late than never. So what he is doing, I fully support it because it's a menace, as you said. And youth are getting attracted towards drugs now, and that has to be immediately stopped. And this will stop people from getting into that. And the dope test, it should be made mandatory. Like for sports people, it should be mandatory for everybody.
Will it violate anyone's right in any way?
There is no question of right on this. Everything about this is wrong. Right. So it has to be stopped.
Right. The Chief Minister also wants death penalty given for all those convicted of trafficking drugs, even if it's the first time. Do you think this could be a deterrent?
Yes, of course it will be a deterrent because that will eventually reduce the amount of consumption of drugs and secure our youngsters who are the future of our nation.
And why Punjab alone is facing this kind of a crisis in the country?
I think they have been lured into that by our cross-border activities. Okay, and the neighbors are very clear because Punjab is the backbone of our country. We should completely stand united against this and thwart all the efforts by the neighbors in terms of breaking it.